we'll try and keep it more conversation, but just because someone's list, not someone, 50.
Yeah, you're okay. You can do it from here. You on? This is funny. Hello, guys. We can see 27 people on. Hi, some familiar faces. Thank you, Robin. You can't see us all clearly right now because we're sharing screen, but you'll see us shortly, all the lovely smiling faces in here, ready for the showtime. But just a quick welcome, guys. Welcome to this another fabulous WOD Dealers event. This is the first Furniture Dealers event, and we are hoping to have a part two if Sally agrees after tonight. But we are just here to have a conversation about what we've been through in the last 5 months and how we foresee the dealerships survival in the next year, what different ideas people have, insights into what we've been through. So yes, just join in the conversation. You can put your questions in the chat box. We've got Beth with us, who is moderating the Zoom for us tonight. So if you have any questions, Beth will pick that up and throw it at one of us, and we'll surely answer. So yes, join in. Welcome everyone, and I'll hand it over to Beth to do some housekeeping notes for us.
Sure. I hope you can all hear me. Trust
Wave.
the microphones in the Bisley showroom. Thanks, Naomi. Yeah, so just a quick etiquette on Zoom, because there's rather a lot of us on here. So if you could mute yourselves, which I think I've muted most of you. If you could put your camera off, it would just help with the connection and the signal strength. And if you also want to pin your speaker view, that will make sure that you see all the amazing WOD members that we have in the room here at Bisley. And obviously, yes, I am fielding questions, so do use the chat box. And if you want to say who your question is directed to, then feel free. If not, then Harsha, Sally, and I will also direct that to the people that we think is beneficial. But enjoy. Back to Harsha.
Thank you, Beth. So we'll start with introducing our lovely panel here today. And I'm going to read out the introduction because they've got just so much credibility. I can't remember each one of it. So we've got Jacquie from WOD Space here, who's joining us via Zoom. So one of our panelists is joining us via Zoom. Jacquie is the principal and founder of WOD Space, a company providing FF&E into the commercial and leisure market. Jacquie has been around for 30 years. Well done, Jacquie. Working with manufacturers and DNBs, and now purely an FF&E practice. So thank you for joining in, Jacquie. Lovely to have you with us, and I'm sure you'll be sharing a lot of insight and experience into this topic today. We've asked people to give their lockdown hobbies, because just wanted to know some fun facts. And it seems Jacquie has spent a lot of time baking. Wow. And what was that, Jacquie? What have you been baking? Putting on weight.
Too many cakes.
All right. Okay. And then we've got the lovely Amanda. Everyone knows Amanda, but there's Amanda, founder and director of Salt and Pegram. And Amanda founded her company 11 years ago during the last recession. What timing. So you're used to this, isn't it,
Oh,
Amanda?
yes, it's normal. What's your upper duck's back?
This is normal for Amanda, guys. So let's hear it from her. Her lockdown hobbies have been gardening.
Gardening.
And you took up an RHS level 2 certificate.
About to do that.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, so
Very
some green
exciting.
fingers in the house then. Great to have you with us,
Thank you.
Amanda. And we've got Hannah hiding away there from Office Principles. Hannah is a designer and a furniture consultant at SP Workspace, which I believe is the furniture arm of Office Principles. She's trained product designer, but she uses her communication design as a communication tool in her current role. I asked you to share your hobby, but you've been
I was a
hiding
little
away.
bit late.
So why don't you tell us what have you been up to?
I started a little veg patch.
Wow.
Kind of cultivating offcuts.
Oh,
And I'm just obsessed now. It's just full of, I've got about 30 red pepper plants now.
That's showing off.
I'm quite impressed though. Yeah, I'm proud of that one.
You two are sat next to the right people.
Yeah. Oh, wait, we've got more green fingers in the room today. So moving on to Eve. Eve joined us from Cambridge. Am I right? Wow. Thank you so much for coming in. Eve's an industrial designer and an interior designer who previously worked for Gensler and Skidmore. And before setting up Eve Waldron Design, her practice is a bit different, that she grew in her furniture consultancy organically. So you basically started as a designer, but now are also a furniture dealer, right? I remember meeting you at Gonzalez, and we shared your notes about how you transitioned from design, pure design, into more furniture dealership. And your hobby has been swimming and walking, swimming off the Suffolk coast. Wow, you're brave. And lucky. Welcome. So we've got Jemma from Hunt office. She's trying to hide away, guys. Jemma is head of design from Hunt's office. Along with her team, Jemma helps clients realize their potential and translate it into physical environments, promoting wellness, productivity, and growth. So we're looking forward to getting some insights from you on this, Jemma. And your lockdown hobby has been, wow, okay. So while the gyms have been shut down, Jemma started running, which she didn't do before.
Yeah, we're still doing
You don't. It's a necessity for all of us. That's true. And then we've got Alex from Workplace Creations. Welcome, Alex. So Alex is a senior furniture consultant, and I'm sure many of you know Alex. And she used to work with Tom Dixon before. Lovely lamps here. Perfect. So you work with your specification and procurement team at Workspace. That's brilliant. And your lockdown hobby has been?
Well, I don't know if you could consider it a hobby, but it's cooking. I mean, I've always been a big foodie, but
Yeah.
now I've just taken on kind of like cooking more recipes and just getting a bit more creative, really. So,
Brilliant. You need to share some with us. And Jessica from Herbalife. Jessica has been in the industry for 6 years and comes from the manufacturer's background. So kind of new to dealership.
Yeah.
But has her fingers in it now. She handles sales at Herbalife. So welcome, Jessica. Jessica went gardening crazy during the lockdown, and now her family calls her Lily Whisperer. So we've got a Lily Whisperer here with us, guys. We've got Beth, who is kindly hiding behind the laptop, moderating Zoom for us. Beth has been around forever, guys. She's been in the commercial industry for 23 years. First with furniture manufacturers, then D&B, and then D&B again. So, but been in the industry for a long time. She used her lockdown time to spend time with the family. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, most of us. And also mountain biking and kayaking.
Yeah. Basically, the things you have to do to entertain a 9-year-old boy.
I get it now. I get it now. Yeah, I didn't fall. Oh, is there? Great. Thank you for being with us, Beth. And Sally. Again, do I need to introduce Sally to anyone? I mean, there are about 50 people there, but I think everyone knows Sally. But anyways, so Sally's just started a new company, S. Royce Consultancy. She's the founder and managing director. She helps businesses achieve cost and time efficient practices, right? She also started a second business. Wow, you've been using your lockdown time, isn't it? Called Heart Space Development. She helps women in business achieve their work-related goals. I'm looking forward to that one. I'm going to check that one out. And you've been a big fan of online yoga videos.
Yes, mainly because no one else can see what you're doing.
Basically hiding behind the camera, isn't it? Brilliant. And then we've got myself. Hello, guys. I'm the founder of WOD. Again, been in the industry for a long time. I'm not just going to say how long. Have worked with K2 Space for about 12 years. Started with them when they were a baby, and now I've grown into a proper D&B and furniture dealership. My lockdown hobby, just like Sally, I gave birth to my third child during the last 5 months. That is WOD Digital. No, don't look at me like that. That was fun, didn't it? Didn't take me long. So yeah, gave birth to WOD Digital. Guys, if you haven't checked out, please check out my baby. It's beautiful. And I also spent time mastering the art of hair cutting. I've got 2 boys at home. When I say 2 boys, my husband and my 16-year-old boy. My husband's been my guinea pig, trying out all the hair cutting styles on him. So yes, that's what I've been doing. Before we start the questions, I always forget to thank our sponsors and supporters, Bisley for hosting us, Block and Nook for sponsoring this event tonight, and Sally Rice for supporting me with everything. So thank you, everyone. And moving on to the main event. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Let's turn it on then.
So I'm loathed to use the C word, I think, in the first question, but obviously it's going to dominate the conversation tonight. But I'm gonna try and not use the actual word. So I think in light of the last few months and what's been happening, specifically, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, the change in the industry, the change to the workplace, the change to the office, but really we're here to talk about furniture dealers. And we wanted to talk about how we think the role of furniture dealers has necessarily changed, bearing in mind the last few months, and what effect has that had? How has it changed, really? And is this change for the better? So Amanda, if you want to kick things off with this one.
I mean, I think the dealer and the role of the dealer has been changing anyway over the last 5 to 10 years. And I think what we've seen is two types of dealer emerging. You've seen the super dealer, the sort of furniture practice, Tsunami, Hunters, that type. And then you've got the smaller, more consultative dealers, the sort of SCPs, us, and people like Dodds and Shoots. And they've very much both got their place. But I think with COVID, because people are going to have to start to look to save money, I think both types are going to be severely squeezed. And for me, the role of the dealer, we're going to have to really demonstrate how we add value. And I think within the industry, a lot of people have thought, well, how do dealers add value? And I think this is the time where we actually have to stand up and say, this is how we add value. Because if you look at a sort of furniture project, there's 3 main areas of where the costs occur for that. And that's the architect specifying it, it's the dealer tweaking the spec, project managing it, and then it's the delivery and installation team. And I think, for me personally, and these are purely my own thoughts, I think that those 3 areas of costs are going to get squeezed down to 2. And I think it's very easy to squeeze those down to 2, because you could get rid of the designer and you could get the dealers to add that extra bit of service, offering the full design package, or you could get rid of the dealer altogether. And this is where I think the super dealers could face some serious threats from operations companies, warehouse companies, installation companies, suddenly going, hang on a sec, we're giving a fully spec tender, a fully spec schedule. Everything is being spec'd already. What value is the dealer adding? So why couldn't an installation company just start procuring that? They already have procurement people, they install it, they manage it. So I think the super dealer is going to have to really watch their backsides, because somebody's starting to nibble coming up behind them from that angle. With the consultancy side, I think this is where you're going to absolutely have to hone down those relationships and really, really work those relationships and rely on those personal contacts that have kept us going for the last 5-10 years, and really, really work that. But at the same time, you've got the super dealers starting to look at projects that maybe they wouldn't have.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
So I think we absolutely have to say, if we haven't already started to change, that we have to look at how we add that value, and just really work on that and really demonstrate it, and not just assume that we're going to be included. I think the dealers now have to work for their
Make sure they're part of the conversation. Yeah, interesting. I hadn't thought about that role of the operations. I mean, my first thought goes to, do they know enough about furniture? Some install companies do, some don't. Sorry to any that are on the call. What do you think, Jackie? Would you agree with what Amanda said?
Yeah, I totally concur with that. And what we've seen is the larger D&B dealers coming into the space where we've been operating for quite a long time, and they're coming in with more discounts. You know, they're doing it for less money, because obviously they've got bigger war chests and they need to keep the wheels rolling, which has been difficult actually. But what we've tried to do throughout this whole process, because we all know it was like a switch, the lights went out for the first few weeks, and you know, everybody was trying to make sense, weren't they, of what was happening, and even the clients were trying to get people at home. And those that had technology to support that did it very quickly, and others were still having to, you know, act fast to support remote working. And we've got a partner, Vic London, who they're a great multidiscipline strategy and design company, and they were quite fast off the mark, actually, just getting white papers, doing surveys, and getting lots of results that they were sharing with us. So we went to our clients and we started sharing knowledge with them. So we weren't actually trying to sell anything to them. We sat back and said, we are here to help you, which the majority said to us, that is so refreshing, because all we've got are people knocking on our doors, bigger companies that we've never heard of, trying to do deals. Everybody was trying to sell, and I don't want to get on this subject tonight, but everybody was trying to sell acrylic screens, which just, but that was a big thing. And our clients were coming to us and saying, what do you think about these? And we were saying, please, just don't go down that route. You know, we can talk about other things further on, but let's just keep supplying you with knowledge. And that's the way that we've tried to support our clients, and not be salesy and not try and look as though we're desperate, like a lot of unfortunately, the bigger companies have done. So yeah, I concur with everything that Amanda said. I know that London is a slightly different market to the UK, to the north in the UK, and I've worked in both markets, so I say that with confidence. And you've got a lot more competition down there, but a lot of that competition has been coming up here now. So we've been finding London companies knocking on the doors of our clients and saying, we can do this too, and we can do it cheaper. So it's just how we can be more flexible, more agile in the way that we work. But I think it's all about knowledge and sharing that knowledge with our clients. And
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, and I'm sure we've all had clients coming to us and saying, what should I do? And you know, being a thought leader, like you said, without necessarily selling anything right now is. Yeah, I love that way of going about that.
Yeah, I think most people have gone that route, isn't it? Where the clients now look at us as share your experience and expertise rather than trying to sell us something. So, but I know, Hannah, when we spoke yesterday, you said you've been really busy, isn't it? Which is brilliant. Yeah. So what share with us? What feedback have you been getting from your clients on their thoughts about returning to the office or taking up new space or not? Are they putting their previous plans on hold? What have you seen? What's the trend like?
It's been really interesting. There's been a complete mix. We've seen kind of two ends of the spectrum, and at the beginning, clients are kind of, let's put the brakes on everything. Let's not go to site. We need to change our plan completely. But then kind of a few weeks passed and everyone kind of got used to it a little bit and thought, okay, right, we're going to need to do something. And a lot of them didn't cancel their plans, they just changed them slightly. So the furniture specification changed slightly, or the strategy of going back to work has changed. And we've been working with clients on their kind of back to work COVID planning and the circulation and everything, and how people are going to actually be using the space too. So it's the consultancy piece again. It's just working with them to develop that and having the flexibility to be able to change and switch things up.
Yeah.
I think the key now that people are looking for is that flexibility. A lot of companies do kind of have a bit of a strategy in place, even if it could all get thrown up in the air again. But people have an idea of what they want and how they want people to work, and it may be kind of working from home, it may be a bit more agile. There are lots of different ways, but I think generally people are feeling a bit more confident, and they just want the support that they know that the staff are going to be happy and we're going to look after their well-being when they get back.
Yeah.
So it's not just selling them furniture, it's selling them kind of a well-being tool.
Yeah, comfort, isn't it? That's what they're looking at more and more. But you're right. I mean, every client, there has been two sides of this, isn't it? Right from March up until now, we at K2 have seen that too. We had we've got a lot of American clients, and their reactions have been very different, very surprising. I remember beginning of March, we had an American client who was moving into a new office in Frankfurt, their German head office, and we were working on it, and we thought that's it, they're going to put a full stop. We went through it up until June, and we installed everything, did everything, which was very positive. But at the same time, looking at local clients, it didn't work that way. So I did see that difference, in culture, the way people reacted to it. What do you think, Alex? What has been your experience on this?
I completely agree with Hannah. It does vary, but what I've kind of seen is that the bigger companies, for some reason, are saying that they're not really interested in going back to the office this year. That's what I'm seeing at the moment. And it's more the medium-sized to smaller companies that are starting to introduce people back into the office, whether that's 2 or 3 times a week. I mean, we've got one of our biggest clients at the moment, and we've been asked to look. They've probably got about 135 offices all over the UK, and we've been asked to look at about between 30 to 40 of those, and then helping them return to the office. And these offices are regional offices, so they're not interested in going back in the city. And then I think one thing is also the access. With bigger companies where there are so many people, you have to think about, okay, how are they even going to get up to the office if they've got to use lifts? And how you're going to make it safe. So I do think it's kind of working with our clients to make sure that we can support them and make sure that they feel safe going back into the office. But it has really varied. We've also working with another client currently as well, who have actually, business has soared for them. They're a technology company and it really has soared. But saying that, they have decided to reduce the space, because what we're seeing is open plan versus kind of meeting rooms. So what we're designing at the moment, they don't need as many desks. So at the moment, I think we're just going to put in 20 desks, and obviously they're going to alternate, so they're going to have people working from home. But they have asked us to look at increase in meeting rooms and collaborative spaces. So I think that's kind of where the market
that's where most people are heading now, isn't it? So that says that culturally, or rather regionally or size-wise, it varies from client to client with the responses, isn't it? That kind of
it does. It kind of leads on to the next question, which is, obviously there's, we've seen increased working from home, and obviously that suited some people, and a lot of people have got a lot out of that. But equally, there's obviously some things that we can't, none of us can achieve at home, when we're not in the office. So in terms of that shared space and kind of collaborative spaces, what are we experiencing with our clients? What are we hearing from our clients about, the shared spaces? In terms of, why do people want to go back to the office? If you knew your clients, and talk about that.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot in the press right now, and I'm up in Cambridge. There's actually a course on creativity, and it's a course that draws in people from all different sectors and backgrounds. It's not just creative people in the traditional sense of artists and designers, but I think businesses are recognizing that to encourage and foster creativity within their team obviously brings the best ideas, new ideas. And so I think that creativity is often sparked by people, isn't it? You might have an idea and I might say something and spark you to take it that little bit further. That happens for me so much of the time. And I think, well, we're all designers and creative people anyway. And I think collaborating is something that really needs to be done in a shared space, meetings and collaboration. And I think that's really important for businesses. And hopefully, that will be more encouraged perhaps by this and a bit more focused, won't it? Because if you come into the office and you come into these collaboration spaces, as opposed to going into your little cubicle, potentially, there's a big uptake. For businesses.
Potentially, it would encourage more productivity if people are coming, like you said, people are coming into the office for specific reasons, to meet with specific people, to do specific things, using a specific setup, then rather than just coming into the office every day because that's what you used to do, then companies could be looking at that as an increase of productivity, hopefully.
I mean, it doesn't make sense for people to come in and sit in traffic and commute and come in and sit behind an acrylic screen, does it? I mean, nobody
and work
wants
solo.
So you can do that kind of work from home. But it's the collaboration and the ideas that are sparked by people meeting.
I think that's absolutely right. And I saw research yesterday, I think it was a BBC or someone who set it out, saying how many people want to go back to work, or rather how many people want to work from home. And I'm up for it, 5 days a week, work from home, and I'm happy. Not everyone can do that. But if And then they said that people go back to work just for collaboration. Now, if you're traveling 2 hours to work, you're not going to go there just to meet one person and collaborate. You're going to try and spend the day there, make the most of it. And that brings us to other spaces and not just the collaborative spaces. So we're still going to need what we have. You know, so when people say office is dead, I don't see that. And when people say, oh, we have to rejuggle everything, no. We already have collaborative spaces. We've already got open, we just need to rethink it, isn't it? And then make it work. But sorry, I know you were going to pass it on to.
Is that what you've been hearing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main reason for people to come back into the office, even if they're not designers, so like if they're in a background role, back office role, it's human interaction. When you're at home, you can be focused, you can get what you need to get done, do your washing up, do this bits and bobs that you don't do. But essentially it's having that conversation with someone that's not your little baby that's like screaming for something, or your mum's ringing you. You have that work talk, and you can get back into having a fluid conversation about what you're working on, where you can sort of bring two visions together and make one to create the better experience for your customer at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't believe that people will be going back into the office 5 days a week, but I definitely think that most people that I've been speaking to are looking at either the 2, the 3, the 4 days, just because it creates that camaraderie that you don't get through a Zoom, through meetings. Everyone's sort of like, yeah, but isn't it nice to get on a Zoom? And for the first few weeks it was like, you're doing your lippy, you're doing everything. But I think essentially you can't get that connection with another human being through a phone call, through a Zoom, through a Teams meeting or whatever. So
I think also, just going on from your point, it's kind of a mental health issue as well for some people. I've been fortunate to be going into my office. We have a small office and I can go in because I have my own room, and people have been rotating in. But I think for young people especially,
if you're living on your own as well.
If you're living on your own, my sister.
I live on my own, and it's really tough.
So I think it's really important for people's mental health.
Also, it's on-the-job learning.
Yes.
I think people are absolutely missing a thing here. I was speaking to an architect and I specifically asked about this, and he said that one of the things he misses the most is being able to walk around the office, just looking over people's shoulders, seeing what ideas they're developing and going, that's a great idea. Why don't we explore this? Or going, actually, you're on the wrong track here. Let's change it. All of that doesn't happen over Zoom.
No.
So how are people going to develop? How are they going to learn? And also it's the things like, we can all imagine in our careers in the past, when we've not been sure about something, we've sort of sidled up to somebody at a tea point, or just happened to walk past the desk. Do you have an idea on this? What do you think about this? Would we actually formally phone call or Zoom someone to ask those questions?
You're playing Zoom tennis or telephone tennis, and it's just like, and then by that point, it's gone.
But then the question becomes very onerous. It is. And people can become self-conscious about not knowing that. So it becomes a specific thing to ask rather than something just to sort of
you just mention. I had a big manufacturer say exactly the same thing to me today, because they employ quite a large number of young people, and he was the MD, and he was very conscious that his young people weren't getting the right type of support. And I think back to when I was younger in the industry and what I learned from the people that I was around, and to be honest, I hadn't thought about it before in light of what's happening right now, but I think it's really, really important, because depending how long this period is. And I think, like, related to what I think Jessica was saying earlier, I think the thing is, even if you live with somebody who also works in the industry for your sins, then I think that's, they might have some understanding of what you do and the kind of things, but certainly my partner has no idea what I'm doing. So when you want to let off steam about a project or a client, and usually you do that with a colleague, and yes, you can do it over the phone, but again, it's not quite the same. He's got no idea what I'm talking about. No interest. So
isn't it just a desk?
Maybe.
It's spontaneity that's missing.
Yes.
Yes, the whole water cooler conversation, and yeah, completely. So I think we all agree on that. This question got a really good response from everyone. It's so important. We all need to get back. But what's worrying me is, and I know I spoke to Jackie this morning about this, isn't it, that a lot of manufacturers are now offering solutions directly to end users, like the home office setup. Jackie, let me ask you this question first. Do you think the route to market has changed forever? Or do you think this is only temporary, like a knee jerk again? What are your thoughts on that? Because I am worried about that one.
Okay, this is my opinion, but there has been so much empty rhetoric in our industry. But in my experience, the narrative has always been the same, actually, and I don't see it changing substantially over the next few years. Dealers need manufacturers, and manufacturers whose business model is built around dealer-led businesses need dealers as well. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to work for both, and the skill sets are completely different. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen people that have worked in manufacturing go into dealerships and fail, and vice versa. So I don't think that the role of the dealer, it will change, as Amanda had alluded to earlier. It's going to change, but it won't disappear because the manufacturers exist to create the designs, to solve problems, and we as dealers pull that all together and we take those solutions to the client. And you know, during, I suppose, the research that I've done just for this event, I've spoken to 6 manufacturers actually, and all echoed the same thing. If manufacturers took on the role of a dealer full-time, their overhead would most likely triple, and one called it a potential car crash. Now, manufacturers know that they can gain more traction with the dealer network. It's obvious, you know, they've got one salesperson, they go out and find 5 dealers, they've got 5 salespeople each, that's 25 salespeople. If they've got 2 projects each, that's 50 projects. Yeah, they're not going to get everything from those projects, but if they get 20 a business from each of those projects, it's £1 million. What are they going to have to do? How are they going to have to resource that to do that on a regular basis? Does Coca-Cola sell direct? No, it goes through a distribution network which sells to the consumers. You know, it's got a massive brand as Coca-Cola, but it knows that its costs are just going to escalate as a result of doing that. You know, when I first joined the furniture industry, that was in 1996. I was in the interiors industry, but actually selling furniture. I went to work for a large steelcase dealership, very successful. Actually, the tail wagged the dog because that dealership was turning over more than steelcase were in the UK at the time. But, you know, I was shocked at the dealer principal and his attitude towards the manufacturer and to other manufacturers, actually, because it was about taking more margin from the manufacturer, not working as a partner. And what he'd not really considered was that that manufacturer had given him the rich language that we all use today, and a lot of that comes, you know, I'd learned the word collaboration, I think, when I first went into that business, and that had come from, you know, from Steelcase, and there's lots of other great companies out there, so I don't just want to highlight Steelcase, that's just my experience, but, you know, they support dealerships so much in what they give back, a lot of manufacturers, and we have to recognise that, you know, we are a partnership. In that business, some salespeople tried to copy that behaviour actually, and thinking that that was, you know, going to be the panacea and they were going to be successful as a result, but they didn't, because they didn't form meaningful relationships. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always going to be friction between the dealer and the manufacturer, and, you know, that continues to exist. But, you know, we've just got to think about how we do work together. And back to the point, yes, a lot of manufacturers have been going direct. They've been selling home office kit. But do you know what? I spent just helping some of our clients, and one client wanted to buy a desk and a chair. I spent probably 12 hours because they were changing you know, what size it was.
Sounds familiar.
And then unfortunately the wife got involved, so the fabric and do you know what, my business model isn't set up to do that. It really isn't, and I don't want that business. We did that because it was just helping clients, but going forward, I don't want to shop, you know, that's not what I do. That's not the model.
So I kind of agree. I think, Jackie, you're right, and I think hopefully manufacturers will look at a bigger picture and the longer future. What do you think about that? Is it going to be what Jackie is saying?
I do think there will be slightly more power to the manufacturers than there have been in this climate, purely because we're going to go into a recession, and the manufacturers get more hungry. Dealers won't have the resource that they've had to do maybe the space planning and things like that. And I think those services that dealers often offer, they won't have unless they use freelancers, of course. But I think those will shift to the manufacturer, so it will become more onerous on the manufacturer, and their overheads will, well, not their overheads will increase, but their margins will narrow to support those overheads. But I do think they'll start to introduce better sales support, better customer care. They've already started to expand their product range, so they're sort of starting to develop an almost dealer-like approach anyway.
Absolutely.
You used to get desking manufacturers, soft furniture manufacturers, task chair manufacturers. Now everybody's just, I walked into Bisley and went, oh, who are those sofas by Bisley? Who knew? I didn't. So I do think that manufacturers over the years have started to develop more of a dealer approach. And I think it always comes back to those relationships. If a manufacturer has a good relationship with an end user client or a facilities manager, and they can provide a good range of what's required in that product portfolio,
why would they not?
I think they'll go direct. You know, margins are going to be squeezed everywhere here. So I think for the manufacturers, they have to work on those relationships, and for the dealers, they have to keep working on those relationships, because ultimately people buy people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the crux is.
I agree.
A couple of manufacturers on the chat. I won't name them, but you know, at this point, really encouraging. Basically saying, you know, we won't go direct. Both of them.
Yay!
You know, and also it's all about supporting the dealer with the right solutions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Really encouraging. So let's.
Which is, and I think. Absolutely, and I think that's what it is. It would all be about relationships, and relationships with end users, but also relationships between the manufacturers and the dealers as well. It's a long-term thing, isn't it? And hopefully the manufacturers would see the bigger picture and say, okay, listen, let's still keep working together.
I think if dealers and manufacturers work together more closely, and I think this may make us do that, because we've all had those projects where the dealers felt that they've done all the work and the manufacturers felt they've done all the work. And somewhere in the middle lies the answer.
It has been.
But I absolutely think if it was mentioned earlier that collaboration, it's absolutely vital in this. You want to know as a dealer that a manufacturer isn't going to go direct. As a manufacturer, you want to know that your dealer isn't going to substitute your product. So it's just about forming up that teamwork.
I think so, and that's where the relationship again comes in. And Jackie, we spoke again about this, isn't it, this morning, that it's about building that trust. And yes, there's always some friction between dealers and manufacturers. It's been historical. But lately, in the last 4 months, what I've seen is I've got manufacturers calling me saying, how are you doing? You know, what are you doing? And they want to find out. And same as with us, isn't it? We want to see they're not going there. So I think it's about forming that relation, that trust, and moving forward. I'm all about being positive. But
I just want to add one just slight
go ahead.
to that conversation, is that I think the trend and what people want in design, it's not just fashion, but furniture, interiors, it's a bit of an eclectic mix, isn't it? And I think that's what can often, you know, that's what designers and architects are looking for. Do you understand me? Do you have that design approach? And you can't always get that with one company, can you? You know, we all furnished our houses in IKEA when we were students, and you had that IKEA look, but I don't think that's what people want. So I think what a dealer can bring is that eclectic mix.
That's a good
that what often sells the job.
That's a
isn't
good
it?
point, isn't it? How many attendees would go directly to the manufacturers? They would want a dealer who understands design and gives
the
them
design-led jobs and the interesting jobs. There will be government jobs and things where it won't matter as so much, but the more interesting design-led
And
jobs.
that's a challenge for clients as well, going direct, that takes, in terms of what we add as a dealer, being able to manage 20 suppliers with,
And
15 issues and label
Yeah,
them up to,
yeah.
sorry manufacturers, but it happens.
it's the confidence on the commercials as well. Obviously, that our experience is actually they want to know they're getting a good deal. How do they know what that good deal looks like? They do rely on dealers to perhaps do those negotiations.
Yeah, true.
And speccing is so complicated now.
Yes.
Years ago,
Oh
you
my
get this
goodness,
meeting
yes.
table, and you get like it's empty, and you get like 20 of these meeting tables in the building.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you'll get 20 different meeting tables,
Yeah.
all in different finishes,
Yeah.
with 20
Oh, yeah.
different chairs around, all in different fabrics.
Yeah. Very
I
true.
hear your pain.
Very true. I'm quite conscious of time, so we do want to
Yeah.
leave time for questions. So maybe we'll ask a couple more, and people do pitch in when you've got. I'm not sure we'll get through all the questions, which is good. It's been good, great discussion. So I was going to jump on.
Go on to the one.
So just ask about talking about the way that dealers do work, assuming that we've got to sit here and assume that dealers are in the future of workplace. And obviously we've all seen, sadly, the people on LinkedIn who are, sadly being made redundant in our industry, and obviously, sadly we might see more of that. Obviously, our industry isn't the only one. So, what do people think about, working in a different way? Working with maybe more freelance designers, with consultants. Jemma, is that something that you think might happen as a trend?
Well, I think we'd have to say it's not going to happen for the immediate time, at very least. And I don't think it's necessarily, in the long run, a bad thing. There's going to be two sides to this. And if you're a dealer, for example, you've got to cut your cloth accordingly, but you've also got to balance on that fine line of being operational, but still being agile and being able to react quickly. And the very nature of people having to streamline, we have now ended up with a pool of talented, experienced, almost hybrid designers and consultants. But there is a side of that is actually brilliant, because you can then pull upon that pool of talent as and when you need it.
And the right people for the right job.
Exactly. So you build and curate your project team depending on what that project is. And on the flip side of that, where it's encouraging people that wouldn't have necessarily gone down that route, and because they know the onus is on them, you're probably going to get a much better service from them, because they know they've got to give it their all. And all of a sudden you're as a dealership or a business owner, you're only paying for that
time that you're
particular
using.
time that you need, and the person that you are selecting for that can put their all and their efforts into it as well. But it's a different route, and I imagine it's scary for a lot of people, but it's getting out of that mindset and and the same with how you build your space and your environment. You build your team depending on what you need, and it's almost a more efficient way of working. It's just that scary bit in between where you need that bread and butter to go from A to B.
And getting used to working in a different model, especially if that's something that's new to a dealer. Does anybody else have any thoughts on using more freelance or using consultants? I mean, do people use freelancers?
Do you use a lot of freelancers, Eve? Or I know we spoke about that earlier, isn't it? Where you were thinking of maybe at some point, because you still want to keep your staff. Everyone wants to. No one wants to be the bad person. But if you have to let go, you would still maybe appoint freelancers at some point.
I think it's, we just need to be more flexible now, don't we? And I think the whole world is kind of going that way anyway, with technology being so available to everyone to be on the go. Why can't we all be on the go a bit more with our jobs?
Sure.
I think it's a mindset, as you say. And once, I started my business, I had a job at Gonzalez, and I, broke away and set up my own business, and it's scary at first. But and especially in this COVID world, I guess. But it's all possible, and I think I think what you were saying about fresh ideas and new ideas and people working harder is really true and interesting. And yeah, just getting fresh blood into the system.
That's what we need, fresh blood, surely. So, but tell us how are we doing with questions? Do we have some more time? Maybe take one more question.
Yeah, we've had a couple of questions that are kind of geared around, you know, design and build, having attachment furniture dealers. Do we still think there's going to be an appetite for that? And then also the route to market for furniture dealers. So furniture dealers, I think, I'm not sure where this person works, excuse me, Dwight, but will furniture dealers target architects or end users? So obviously just identifying there might be a difference in the niche, you know, approach and strategy of different dealerships and things like that. Will they want to take that in?
I think dealers are going to start targeting end users because, again, the market has just shrunk by 40–50%. So I definitely think they're going to start targeting the end users. And with saying exactly what you were saying earlier, Eve, that we can offer an eclectic solution that manufacturers can't. And that is absolutely a unique selling point of dealers. So
I think
totally go down that route.
with any business, you know, and I think about this as running now, minding my own business, having multiple income streams is the way to survive in a tough time. You know, you do some of that, you do some of that, you know, you have different services, whether it's consultancy or design or furniture or space planning or whatever those services that you offer. So yes, of course you're going to target A&D. Yes, some dealers are going to target A&D more than others, but targeting end clients, to me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
I mean,
project managers as well, cost consultants, they're all going to target
all the professional teams, not just the furniture specifiers.
Well, I think that was happening anyway with dealers.
Yes,
it was. And again, I think this has just propelled it forward
I think
because our market's shrinking.
Yeah, completely.
And someone else here, Georgia, just picking up on the fact that actually the A&D community has actually been really busy during all of lockdown. We see more dealers driving the furniture specification instead of A&D. So actually, you know, the architects and designers perhaps, you know, feeling the pressure on resources, etc., and then actually putting that FF&E specification and consultancy onto the dealer. You know?
That goes back to that reducing one of those areas
to
of
their
cost.
core, really, isn't it? Core skill sets.
I think that's what I was speaking to someone earlier about, how it's a circle, isn't it? So if A&D is busy, that's great, because that's where we come in then, isn't it? So yeah, I think that's.
Do people think that the architects' practices are going to remain busy?
I think they're going to try.
$1 million question, that is.
They're trying to hold on to that furniture, like you were saying, Amanda. I mean, you know, they already specify furniture. Okay, perhaps they don't always have, and apologies to architects in the call, quite the level of furniture expertise that we might have around the table here and being very
You're very brave.
Well, and by that I mean AV integration and all those exciting things. You know, obviously they know product, but maybe that's not the detail. And I think, you know, if they're worried about their business, which obviously we all are, then, you know, they're going to be wanting to hold on to everything they can. And if that's holding on to the furniture specification and not giving that to a dealer, well, if I was an architect, I'd be wanting to do that. Yeah.
Sorry, can I just get in?
Yeah, Jackie, sorry. We haven't forgotten you.
Hello. I wish I was there because it's just much more. And I could have had a glass of wine as well with you all. One of the things that we have found, actually, because of architects being really busy, is they have been asking us to pull together budget costs for them and to actually propose some of the furniture elements as well, which has been quite a big shift. So we've had an awful lot of work to do on the back of them being busy, but just to be able to push budgets through, it doesn't, we still don't know whether we're gonna cross over or get the order over the line rather, but you know, I've probably been more busy in the last 2 months than I've ever been busy, actually. But just coming back to end users, I've always targeted end users and most of my clients are end users. So it's been quite a shift for us because we have been working with architects and designers throughout this period. So we have seen that turn.
Well, that's good news.
Another really interesting question here from Rosie, who's a designer, and she said, you know, her method is actually to encourage the end user to go for an open book purchasing process. but still finds that most clients are going down a tendering route. You know, is there a way to educate clients further? And I think, yeah, that's, you know, I've spent many years doing exactly that and trying to change the market. And yeah, I think some so I'm just trying to mess around my spotlight. Some clients are much more open to that, and I think it's about having the right level conversation with the right person. You know, if you're talking to a procurement business or procurement level, then they're really interested in the benefits of having that transparent procurement. If it's a very complicated specification as well, then obviously the dealer can really step into a kind of hybrid role there and take on that headache, you know, of multiple manufacturers and, you know, the 428 different colour specs of different wardroom chairs across 4 rooms or whatever it might be. Yeah, so that's again my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think that's what I've seen. But open book versus tender is also based on the size of the project most of the times. So as you said, if it is very complicated, you know, they're not going to do it open. I mean, could be open book. Open book. That's it. But yeah, I don't think we have an answer to that. But any other questions, or we could?
Got one for Hannah.
There you go, Hannah. You can't hide.
Is there still an appetite for D&B companies to start up separate furniture divisions? What are the drivers for this? Let's see, being
Yeah,
your model.
that makes sense. Yeah, so that's exactly how we work, and we find that it's great because you get to collaborate with the designers, you get to have your input in the layouts, and you get to kind of have that workplace piece as well,
right
which
from
I
the
think
start.
sometimes we're not able to get involved in because that piece has been done already. So I think there's a huge market and appetite to have that, because you do get the collaboration, you get the knowledge, you get the design expertise as a team.
And the client, do you think the client benefits from that earlier collaboration?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we get, well, how it works with me anyway. So I get involved with the whole specification process from the beginning. So input in the visuals for pitching, input in the GAs, input in everything. So going to the initial briefing session, which means you get those insights that you would otherwise get secondhand. Which isn't as impactful, I don't think.
So starting that conversation about furniture earlier, because sometimes when it comes to all of us, that conversation's already happened.
It's often
What were you thinking?
I think that's as you asked, the benefit to the client. At K2, we do the same thing. So we have the D&B side and the furniture side. We try and work and pitch it together, because that's beneficial for the client as well. They don't have to go out hunting, and we as insiders know what the designers are thinking and pitch right from there for the right type of furniture. So yeah,
Work together to create the perfect solution for the customer. And it's all about what they want. And I don't think enough people listen to what is being said. They sort of like streamline their vision, think this is what's going to look great, and not really listen to what can be done if you've got everything and everyone all in one room together, which is another thing about all being, you know, around like this in a round table where we're sort of bouncing off each other and saying opinions and ideas.
I find there's a big difference in the I don't know, the linear approach perhaps to a more traditionally procured project. And I think that's an education of the market, which again I spent an awful lot of time trying to do. So just as you said, Amanda, you know, actually it's not just about the architect and interior designer, it is actually having engagement early with the PM, with the QS about the budgets, even the IT team, and having a much more holistic approach with the furniture early enough. And perhaps you get that when you're the internal furniture arm of a design and build company. But if you're in that traditional market, you have to really fight for that position early on to even be heard, you know, to even have a conversation about furniture when the budgets are being set is incredibly hard, but it can be done, I promise you. But yeah, that would change.
Come across that frustration as well, because we're kind of in reverse, where we're a traditional dealer with a design arm, but we do a lot of jobs where we'll be working alongside an architect or a designer. And yes, the vision and everything's brilliant, but they've not often captured the way that client wants to work or what they want to achieve out of that space. And although it works brilliantly and it looks great, and I'm sure you need you've asked for a meeting space, we'll put a meeting space in there, we'll put resident desks in, whereas we'll challenge them to kind of ask what your workflow is and how do you work together, and then build a solution. And often when we're brought plans by an A&D company, they're already all in there. And once we start talking to the client, we'll be asking questions like, but is this going to support the way you work? And that's where you kind of get that disjointedness between you and the designer, because the last thing we want to do is step on their toes, and then you've lost that trust already. But actually what we're trying to achieve is the best outcome for the client.
Which again is another added value if we come back to Amanda's point about what do we actually add as a dealer, and that's, you know, that's definitely a part of it.
Great. Do we have any more questions, or I have one?
That's all of it for the chat.
Great. So I've got one here before we wrap it up with a final question. So I don't know if our audience has read a report by CBRE. They did a research recently, and it's called as Future of Furniture Report. If you haven't, to check it out on CBRE's website. David from Nook Wellness Pods has shared it with me, and I found it really interesting. So you furniture guys out there, do check it out. But I have a question on that report, and I shared it with you guys. On that report, the report concluded saying clients do not want to implement changes until they better understand how the pandemic is going to redefine our workplaces. Fair enough. Now, how does that finding impact your businesses and how you advise your clients? So what are your thoughts about that? Can I ask Alex?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
I think it is a tricky one. These are really uncertain times for us all. But I think what we need to do is obviously be there to support our clients. And again, it comes down to building those relationships with our clients at the moment. And then what can we advise them? We're there for what they want us to be there for, but we can also help them look at the bigger picture and prepare for the future. And I think this is also a good way of kind of working with our suppliers and looking at ways that we can introduce furniture that's multifunctional, that's more flexible. So at the end of the day, it is future proof. So whatever's going to happen, it will work in whatever environment.
So it's not just the knee-jerk reaction of putting screens everywhere.
Exactly, but also at the same time, we can also help if they are looking to work from home. We're there to support them in that sense as well. So we're just flexible. We want to be there for them.
Just support them in whatever way needed, isn't it? And as Jackie said earlier, sharing your knowledge. It's not just about selling furniture. It's knowledge that this is a time we all share our knowledge, isn't it? Is that what you've seen, Jessica?
Yeah, I think really what's been happening is sort of, especially when we've got projects on, people are like, right, this is what I've got ordered, this is what I've got coming, but how am I going to make this work when I've only got half the task force coming back into the office? And it's all about listening and sort of going back to the drawing board. And luckily enough, we've got the space planning tools to be able to sort of say, this is what we're going to do, but this is also, and just providing options and swapping things out. And you're not too late, or how about we change this? And it's about being open and honest and sort of saying, this is how it is, but this is what you can do with what you've got. Don't worry about this, that, and the other. You'll have to do this, but then we can do that. And just creating options and not sort of closing any doors and saying, it's tough luck, mate. You've bought what you've bought, and it's because you want to be able for customers to keep coming back. And if you're going to sort of not provide options, or it's all about making them aware that we don't only care about them, but we care about their employees, and we care about creating like an environment where everyone can feel comfortable to go back to work and do the best that they can for who they're working for. And that for us is really important, because then it means that they're going to say, do you know what, these guys really cared. These guys actually, even though it wasn't easy, they bent over backwards and they managed to do something for us that's not the same. So what I'm trying to say is, people are coming to us with, what are we going to do? And if we provide enough options and are open-minded enough to listen to what they need
and support and comfort them, I think that's
it's really scary times ahead for a lot of people, and every family is different. So one employee might be like, right, we've done a scope of 10 people, everybody wants to come back, but there might be like 5 people that you haven't asked that cannot come back into the office, or they need to have different options.
I
So
think it's
why
about
can't you take those
future-proofing,
things
isn't
out? Yeah,
it?
it's like you say,
Future-proofing
future-proofing.
is the answer to it. Like I just saw a text pop up there by Nikki saying, future is all about being flexible.
Yeah.
The report by CBRE stated an example of a German designer who built a desk which was height adjustable but had a power block. So you can, on wheels, so you can move it around. So it's more flexible for people to use it in different ways. So I think manufacturers will need to start thinking in that direction of being flexible, including technology into everything. That's the way forward, I think. But
yeah, just
yes,
kind of
Ali.
coming to the end, and just wondered if anybody had any last comments or last kind of advice or thoughts on the role of dealers. I mean, we've on a positive note, had some great points I think made tonight. But anybody have any final?
I was just going to say, I think, you know, people really need to lead by example. If people want the workplace to get back going, then, you know, people in government jobs and big businesses, they need to get back to work and, you know, just start leading. And, you know, I've been working in my office quite early, and that means my office feels a bit more back to normal. And I just think if everyone leads by example, come into the office, show people you can do it, and don't be so afraid, because there are ways around it.
I think leading by a good example as well. I mean, we've tried to be as responsible as we can tonight. So I think it's a good example. But I think really great discussion tonight.
I think so. Anyone, anything missing out?
Yeah.
I know we need many more hours to discuss it, but
we've covered a lot. And
we covered a lot.
We shouldn't do it without.
Sorry, can I just add one analogy?
Oh, sorry, did someone? Oh, that was Jackie. It's okay. Go on, Jackie.
Yeah, no, just one analogy actually that I'd heard when people are saying, well, things return to normal. And it was Nathan actually from Orange Box that said on the 11th of September, the Twin Towers were razed to the ground, and the US said, no more high-rise buildings. Since then, taller buildings have been built.
No.
It may not seem like it now, but we do adapt. We've always done that. So, you know, we're just going through a period that it's the unknown. Nobody's got a crystal ball, but you know, let's just keep doing what we've said. It's sharing. It's just sharing knowledge. It's working together, isn't it?
I think that's what tonight. I think that's what tonight was all about. I think, you know, it's not often that dealers come together and share a conversation, and I think that's been really, really nice tonight. And I think, you know, helping each other to get through this time and sharing thoughts and ideas, and I think that's a real positive thing. So thank you for everybody around the table. Thank you for everyone that attended and submitted questions.
Jackie, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Oh no, thank you, guys. Thank you, and we're off for a glass of wine now, guys.
Sorry, I'm not here.
Bye.
Do I need to turn it off? Bye, guys. Thank you.